What's up, Chicago? This is Four Star Chicago Sports, and we're coming to you with the first edition of the Bear Necessities. We're going to be doing a weekly preview show, Brandon and myself. We're going to try to get it to you guys every Saturday by noon. Hopefully, y'all can come check us out. We're recording late night. I just got off of work. We just finished watching the first game of the NFL season. What a freaking game that was, man. I'm still riding high on adrenaline from that. How you doing, Brandon?
Good, man. Yeah. Good game. I mean, it was strange. It was like right on the edge of your seat till the very last play. But you
It was
kind of
amazing.
like you kind of left you wanting more. I
I wanted
was
to
like
go for that 2 point conversion,
we
man.
we were a quarter inch away from watching overtime, so like it kind of sucks.
No, they were going for two, bro. They were calling Harbaugh was calling for the 2 point play. They were
Oh,
going for
they're going for the win.
yeah, that would have been crazy too. I mean, we were kind of texting throughout. I was at work, trying to watch some when I could. I mean, I'll give I'll give my reaction the best I can. Like I said, we're recording very late night here today, but I was just so blown away by how close he was to nailing that down. And throughout the game, you were kind of saying how bad the Ravens looked, but the Ravens hung in there, man. In spite of all
I
those
was
mistakes they made, they shot
I,
themselves in the foot so
I
much.
was I was also saying Isaiah Likely is the guy that we're all going to regret after week one in fantasy because it looked pretty obvious that he's going to be schemed around. I mean, they're going to do whatever they can to get him the ball. But yeah, man, I mean, the Ravens to me still looked bad. Like there was a lot of concerns.
They didn't look
I
bad. I
think
mean,
I think
they
I
looked
think
pretty
I
good.
think their 32-year-old defensive coordinator did a hell of a job. I think that for sure. I think his I don't remember his name, something Oz, Zach Oz maybe, Zach Orr.
There you go. The old
Um
linebacker. He was a linebacker in the league
yeah, for
for a
two
while.
years. Yeah, did a good
Played for those
job.
Rams.
Yeah,
Yeah.
did a good job coaching that game for sure. The offensive line, man, is unsettling. I mean, I, I love the fact that Lamar Jackson ran for 100 yards in the first game of the season, but I think he's going to have to do that. But from what I just watched, I think he's going to have to do that consistently for this team to win games.
I mean, you want to be careful, like surmising a team the first game that you see them, the first week of the NFL season. I thought that some of those penalties, I mean, that new call that they're doing where you got to be lined up right on the center's hip, basically. Obviously, Ronnie Stanley was still trying to get adjusted to that because he got called for that like four times, just him on his own. And I really don't like the call. I hope they don't put this much emphasis on it all season because it seems ridiculous to me. But I mean, they had a lot of penalties. They hit Patrick Mahomes out of bounds on that last drive before they got the ball back. But they were lucky that those play that got offset by a holding call. Otherwise, that game was over. I mean, but once Lamar got that ball back, those last two drives, we can talk about the offensive line looking rough, but they held up really well, man, on those last two drives in terms of keeping Lamar clean and Lamar worked his magic, but they got
Yeah,
down the field quick.
I was just going to say, man, I don't know if they kept him clean. I think he just got the hell out of there. And
It's a combination of both, I
I
think.
also think they took playmaking ability from Andrews and likely through the majority of the game for having to chip these guys, man. Like as Collinsworth pointed out, I'm not going to act
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm the only person that saw it, but I was saying to you guys from drive one, this offensive line looks concerning. And then in drive two, the second drive of the game, they replace a veteran who's healthy, no injury, sustained for a rookie. To me, that says, man, they were expecting problems when the season started. It's probably a very close and tight battle between two
Yeah,
players.
they probably had that
They
on the
watched
radar.
a drive and a half, and that was enough for them to be like, this is a big enough problem to make us the weakest link. You know what I mean? Like that individual was the weakest link, which made our entire line as weak as him. And they got him the hell out of there, but it didn't get much better, if you ask me. Man,
I mean, they got back in the game, Brandon. That's all I'm saying.
I saw
It was
Lamar Jackson
a
do what Lamar Jackson's done his whole career, but I saw it on a level in which was more desperate to me, honestly, man. Like he's got the ability to run. He chooses to do so when it's his last option. It was his last option a lot. I mean,
no, and
it
you
was his first option.
And you mentioned that they needed to keep the tight ends in, and that limited their playmaking ability. I don't know. Mark Andrews didn't look like he has any playmaking ability.
No, he should just block. Yeah,
He caught that catch. I mean, all he had to do was turn around and lunge forward for a first down, and he just fell on his ass, man.
yeah.
That was concerning.
I don't love Mark Andrews coming back from an injury like that. I don't love Nick Chubb coming back from an injury like that. I don't like those injuries, man. It's a shame. It's unfortunate, but I also think just wear and tear and age was a little bit on Andrews' side on top of the injury. It's tougher for those guys to come back. You know, if Andrews was a rookie, except from that injury, he might still have the career he's had, but he's not a young guy. So I likely is going to be the centerpiece of that team, man. I would say even over
Did you
like
see that block that likely laid on George Karlaftis?
yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
God! Not
He
he
just
just pan
threw him on his ass, man. And that's
out.
I mean
He's not just
the
making
guy
plays downfield; he's blocking too. I think.
and I
Yeah.
and I want my receipt saved here, Dustin. You remember me like 2.5 years when they made this trade for Roquan Smith? I was telling you like that's a piece you should have demanded. You should Ryan Poles
Yeah,
should
for
have
sure.
stood stern like
Yeah, we've
that's
both
why
been high on
I don't
likely
want anybody else.
saying that. Yeah, you
Yeah.
definitely said that. No, I'll back you up on that, man. And likely he's likely turning into a star in this league, man. I
Yeah.
don't know. I just think it sucks the Ravens lost that game and the way they did, but we're all winners, man.
That was a good football game. Yeah, and I don't have
For
a
the opening
dog in
game
the
of the
fight.
season to go that way, you can't write it out any better
Yeah.
than that.
I don't have a dog in the fight. It was a good football game. I'll say this was like an AFC championship game. I probably would have been rooting Ravens, but
I
I was
mean,
rooting for, I'll be honest, guys, and this is something I wish I didn't do, but I'm watching these games rooting for my fantasy players.
of course you are. Well, we all are. I was
But
rooting for my parlay, man. I had
yeah, I
Henry
mean,
as Henry as an anytime touchdown scorer, and then I vacillated back and forth. I had Pacheco as an anytime touchdown scorer, and I went with fucking Kelsey. I took Pacheco out and put Kelsey, and that's what fucked me because I had 35 yards rushing for Pacheco and Henry. They both hit that. I had the under. It came in right at 47. That was the over under. I mean, if I had Pacheco as that anytime touchdown scorer, I hit
I,
that.
oh,
That's
get
tough.
this. I had Pacheco over 2.5 receptions. He had two, and he dropped one that
That
was
one down the
placed
sideline.
directly in his
Yeah,
hands for probably a touchdown. So that burned me, man, because that was a 6 leg parlay. Yeah, it
yeah,
was.
we can
So
all.
we're done. We're done already. But I've got like 4 or 5 more going. So we'll see what happens. Some more safer. Actually, I got to check what Caitlin Clark did tonight. I had a Caitlin Clark parlay. So we'll see.
Kalen
Yeah.
Clark's been killing it, man. What was your biggest takeaway from that game? I mean, we don't again. It's overreaction Thursday, apparently. I mean, there's a lot to take away from what we saw, I think, but also keep it in perspective because I think the Ravens are a good team. I think they're going to win double-digit games. That was a tough opening game for them on the road in Kansas City. But what was your biggest takeaway from that game? You mentioned the offensive line. Something besides that.
Yeah, this Kansas City defense is still egregiously good.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
I said this on the podcast a week ago, guys. This is a top 5 defense, possibly a number 1 defense in the NFL.
No, I
And
think you called them out as the number one defense on CSP
yeah,
later on that night.
and
Yeah,
I
you
think
said that.
and I think that a lot of people were discouraged by the loss of Snead, and I understand that he's a good player, and the Chiefs got to pay people, so I understand where they're coming from. But
Watson played really well tonight in
he
his.
did. Watson did play well. He had a couple of pass deflections, and I also think they still have enough. They're just it's a good defense, and McDuffie is for sure the guy you want to pay, right? If you have to choose between those two. So no, I think the Chiefs defense is going to be tough all year. And I think their offense got better, man. And I've been saying this for a while, and I expect them to win this game. I said that as well on our show on Monday. And I think this Chiefs team is going to be top 5 probably on both sides of the ball with the additions they've made on offense with Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, Rice played a really good game. Or yeah, played a really good game. Is it Rice?
Rasheed Rice.
No, no, sorry. Who's the Rasheed Rice had a great game, which I
Rasheed played
expected.
great.
But
Yeah.
who's
But
the receiving back that's spelling Henry?
Perrine, P. Ryan,
No, no.
Samaji. Oh, Henry. You're talking about Justice Hill.
Justice Hill had a
Yeah.
phenomenal game. So like this Chiefs team's added really good pieces to a team that just won a Super Bowl on defense. So that's my biggest takeaway
I'm
is the
confused because you're
Chiefs,
talking about the Chiefs defense, but then you brought up Justice Hill, the Ravens running back. Um,
or not just so. Yeah, sorry,
I'm
man. I'm
confused
like
by what you're
multi,
saying.
but
You're a little stoned.
the yeah the Chiefs offense with the additions of Hollywood Brown,
P. Ryan was the
obviously
guy catching balls out of the backfield for the
the
Chiefs.
Chiefs, yeah,
So
yeah,
Madre P.
and then they used one other back, and I don't remember who it was. Pacheco played a pretty good game as well, but the additions
Dude
of
runs hard.
Hollywood Brown, the draft of Xavier Worthy, already clearly going to make an impact on this Chiefs
I haven't even
offense,
seen
and
Hollywood Brown yet. And
that's what I'm saying, man. Like he's a really
that's
quality player, man. He's a really quality player. He's had a season with over 1,000 yards rushing. He's a speedster and a possession guy. Honestly, if you
receiving.
ask me,
Talking about Hollywood Brown, 1,000 yards
yeah,
receiving when he with the Ravens, he had that. Yeah, actually.
yeah. So my takeaway is the Chiefs are a really good fucking football team, man. But I honestly, the Ravens defense to me, even there, because a lot of people we were talking about the loss of Patrick Queen, still looks really good, coached by a 32-year-old.
You know, yeah, I gotta agree with you, man. That's what stood out the most to me is like what a well-oiled machine that Chiefs team looks like, and they don't even have all their pieces. Kingsley, Samoa Tuai or something like that. The guy they drafted in the second round.
Sure.
They nailed it on the program tonight, but I'm not as
Oh, the left tackle.
Collinsworth, the left tackle they drafted in the second round.
Yeah, played a
Um,
good football
uh,
game.
yeah, out of BYU, that guy played his ass off. And Worthy, I mean, it's like the rich getting richer. They nailed their first two picks of the draft. It looks like, and that's only going to make them better. And then that linebacker, man, what was his name? Chanot, the middle linebacker.
The
That was
white guy?
yeah, he played
Yeah,
his.
he exploded in the
He was
playoffs last year.
crazy.
Chenault.
Chanel. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I kind of got it right, I think. But he played his ass off, man, and that guy was just really good, and he's huge. He's the same size as Derrick Henry, basically, and he's getting
Yeah,
all over the field.
Chenault was a good player
Chanel,
towards the end of last year. Yeah, he's an impact player.
he's
Like
carrying over.
The Chiefs have playmakers on every level of that defense, on the defensive line and the linebacking core and the secondary. I mean,
It's just scary.
it's
It's
scary
scary
to add
how good
that
they are.
defense to the
Yeah.
dynamic to the Patrick
Yeah,
Mahomes.
and
Yeah,
Spagnuolo is still their defensive coordinator. Should be a head coach. He thought he was tonight when he called that timeout. That was funny when he was like, "Oh shit, sorry, I'm not supposed to do that." But he got the timeout anyways. What do you know? The Chiefs get another break. The Chiefs get all these breaks with the refs, man. But no, the Chiefs are a well-oiled machine. The Chiefs are back to defend their title, and it's hard
what
not to think they're going for a three-peat the way they played tonight. I picked the Niners to win the Super Bowl, but that that team is really fucking good, and it's
and
scary how well they perform tonight.
Chris Jones already impacted a football game. I mean, that's
Chris Jones impacts every football game. That
so
guy,
it's not like the talent they've added just on top of what they've already retained is yeah, it's pretty scary, man, on defense, especially because Patrick Mahomes can work without the best players in the league on offense. That defense is can be able to carry Mahomes if he doesn't have a good game. That's
yeah, and he didn't have his best game
yeah.
tonight.
I don't know what that. Yeah, no, his fantasy score was like 19 or something. It
Yeah,
wasn't
I
impressive.
mean, and
20.
that's still solid, but he didn't have like the normal Patrick Mahomes game that you think of when you think about him.
I mean,
And that's what's scary with them because, like you said, they can win those games still, and he'll just make that one play he needs to when the game's on the line to get it done. I mean, the one thing that surprised me tonight is that the Chiefs did not do that. Their offense gave the ball back to the Ravens and almost lost that game because of it. That was one thing that they're going to have to figure out because Mahomes makes those plays usually, and that batted ball that almost got intercepted that he went and caught, that's still a game-winning play right there. Because if that's an interception, they got the ball midfield versus getting to punt it downfield and giving the Ravens the starting field position they had, which was inside
yeah,
10. That was a winning play still. I think.
yeah. I mean, I that bothered me that play. We like Chris Collinsworth mentioned what Patrick Mahomes did. Not a single mention of the player who batted probably a first down throw in the air, but the Ravens defensive player that stopped that pass from being a completion, which it was going to be, was
Yeah,
also impressive.
yeah.
But Yeah, two other things, man. That I don't want to. I really don't want to overreact to week one, but I was having feelings last year, especially about one of these players. Travis Kelsey and Marlon Humphrey are both players that I'm pretty sure are on this kind of downslope towards
Kelsey,
where
that
they
makes
eventually.
sense.
Yeah,
Kelsey, that makes sense. He's in his mid 30s, man. Yeah.
yeah. And
Humphrey just got a deal a couple years ago. He's been playing well for the Ravens for a couple years.
last year he was down, man. He was a top 100 player the year before. He wasn't last year. I don't know. I don't. He looks
He seems to
slower,
forget
but
where he was on that
he
Xavier
looks
Worthy.
lost. Yeah, he looks lost. He doesn't look like he used to be a ball hawk, just kind of constantly getting at the ball. He's there late. I don't know. He just doesn't seem like the same impact player as he was, which is not a good thing if you just lost Patrick McQueen too. I mean, your biggest corner, and you're like outside of Roquan, you're probably most influential defensive player on
Patrick
your team,
McQueen.
or Patrick Queen. Sorry.
Patrick Queen, the linebacker, not okay, not the corner. He's a linebacker.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, you said biggest corner. I'm just trying to make sure we're
Uh,
clear. Okay.
no,
Yeah.
no, I'm saying the biggest corner in Humphrey is
Okay,
kind of
gotcha.
fading away, as well as losing Patrick Queen is like
A
a bad
double
season for those
blow.
two. But
Yeah.
yeah, bad season for those two things to happen simultaneously, man.
We'll see, man. Like I said, it sucks that someone had to lose that game, but us as NFL fans are winners for having to for being able to get to see that game as the opening of this NFL season. I hope it's a sign of things to come for this NFL
I'm
season.
sure tomorrow night's game is going to be a good football game
Yeah,
too.
we got the Eagles and the Packers tomorrow night. I mean, Jesus. The NFL just keeps getting better at figuring out how to come out and start this season and
Well, yeah,
get to every day of the week.
look at the week one matchups. I mean, even down to like the Lions Rams, you got two quarterbacks that were traded to, I mean,
Yeah,
their
the Monday
respective
night
teams.
game, Niners Jets, man.
Yeah, yeah, everybody's picking these two teams, not everybody and their mother is picking these two teams for the Super Bowl. So
Yeah,
that's
and
that.
tonight's teams, we might have watched a preview of the AFC Championship game. We definitely watched a review of last year's AFC Championship game. And since we're last year's AFC Championship game, like one thing that it didn't make sense to me that the Ravens just gave up on the run. You know, like it felt to me like they just gave up on it. I mean, Travis Henry started out pretty well. I mean, but in towards the end of the third quarter, the guy had 10 carries. And it's like I don't think that that's enough to give
Yeah,
up.
no,
You
it
know, like
felt
it didn't seem like
it.
they were trying to establish the run, same as they did in that AFC
Yeah, I
Championship.
was just gonna
They
say,
ran 6 times for the
felt very
entire game.
similar. Felt
It's
very
like
similar to that FC Championship game, and Lamar Jackson missing throws in the end zone. He does those things when he's playing in his AFC Championship or in playoffs in general. When he's in big
yeah,
moments, man. That's when I expect him to miss those throws, and he did again.
you feel bad for him because he missed that throw and then he came back with a hell of a throw, man. And it was like it was this much the difference. It was a
Well,
half
and I'm not
coach.
taking anything away from it. No,
Yeah, man.
no disrespect to Lamar, because like anytime that guy made a throw tonight, he got himself out of the pocket and he was moving. I mean, he was creating. So
Yeah, well, if the offensive line is as bad as you say it is, that might be a theme for the year for them. But if there's a guy that can carry them through that in the NFL, it's Lamar
yeah,
Jackson for sure. So, I mean, and we're hoping that we have a guy that's going to carry us. I mean, when I say we and us, I'm referring to the Chicago Bears. That's going to carry us through this NFL season. And Caleb Williams, this Sunday, it starts, man. The new era of Chicago Bears football. We're hoping we see actual offense for the first time in many years for the Chicago Bears. They're opening up at home Sunday at noon against the Tennessee Titans. I'm freaking excited, bro. I'm really excited about this. How are you feeling about it? Where's your level of anticipation for this game compared to previous seasons for the Chicago Bears
it's
season
like
opener? Last year I didn't want to
it's like
watch.
it's like it's a cliche, but it's like being a child waiting for Christmas, man. I mean, like
Yeah, man.
this is the real deal, and like me and you both have been watching this kid for 2 years, so this is a dream. You know what I mean?
For 3 years, I mean, when he came
yeah,
into Oklahoma, yeah, man.
yeah, 2021, yeah. So like the guy that I've watched through college and thought, man, this kid is special. Like
Would
I'm gonna
love to
hear
see
this.
him on the Bears.
I'm gonna hear this kid's name. You know what I mean? And like when you assume that like we're gonna hear this, and I mean like on the NFL level, we're gonna hear this kid's name. But when you're thinking those things 3 years ago, you're not thinking playing for my team. So yeah, it's pretty cool, man. And they start with a pretty. I don't
Winnable
want
game.
to. I don't want to
Winnable.
get ahead of myself, but yeah, a game that I feel like could kind of silence the naysayers because there's a lot of those still, and then change history because look at the record for first overall pick quarterbacks that have had to start week one. I think the record's like 0-14-1 or something. So like,
Yeah, man. CJ Stroud had that rookie season last year, but they lost their first game to the Ravens.
and
By
Bryce
double.
Young lost his first game, and yeah, like
Yeah,
these quarterbacks that have been taken first overall always have. They always have. Not
yeah,
once have they won. So I would be pretty special to see Caleb change that. I'm going to be at the game. It's going to be pretty cool to be there for Caleb's, you know, first time he's walking on the Soldier Field in an actual NFL season. And
yeah.
I
That's
was
awesome.
there.
I'm
I
gonna
was
be on
there
my
for
couch.
Justin Fields. I was at the Cincinnati game where Justin Fields had to replace Andy Dalton. So like I remember that day. It was a good feeling. I was literally saying to the people I was with, like, man, we're here, we're seeing this. Like we're about to watch this kid play his first snap as a Chicago Bear. So cool to do that all over again with a player that I have a lot more
Let's
faith in.
not equate those two
Uh,
things together, please. I don't want
yeah,
to.
but when you win Justin Fields the first time he was stepping on the field, you didn't know.
No, for sure.
You
Yeah,
had hope. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
We don't know right now either. Too. It's
Yeah.
that hope. It's like, but we want it to be something more
Right.
substantial
We
than
could
that.
be having the same conversation about the game I went to where Caleb played, where it was like, yeah.
No, I don't think so though. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Let's not jinx it like that. So I mean, we're we're setting up for this game. We're both excited. We're both thinking that Caleb is who we think he is, who we've thought he is for years.
Yeah,
So,
David Green.
so I mean, where do you see this game being decided, man? We got the Tennessee Titans. They, as much as I don't think they're going to have a great season this year, they got a few great players on that team. One in particular, I can't stop thinking about. What do you think decides
Well,
this
so
game?
what do you want? You want my bare necessities now? Are we doing this now?
I mean, we're gonna roll into the bare necessities. I mean, why not? That's the name of the show,
Okay.
and I'll kind of set you up with this, man, because I uh I think the biggest matchup of this game is Jeffrey Simmons versus our entire offensive line. I think if he is able to get one on one or even a weak double team, he can destroy this game. He can make things really hard on Caleb Williams. I mean, I told you earlier, I was watching some highlights and some film on Jeffrey Simmons last night before I went to bed, and like I just, dude, that gave me nightmares because this guy can wreck a game. If he has a swim move that's way too fast for a guy his size, he has a bull rush that'll put the center right in the quarterback's lap in 2 seconds. And he can stand up an offensive guard and just put him where he wants him with his hands to get in the way of the run. If you don't double team him, you're done. You're toast. They move him everywhere. He's going to go up against Darnell Wright at some point. He's going to go up against both of our guards and Tevin Jenkins and Nate Davis, and he's going to line up over our center. He's gonna see everybody, and they're all going to see him. Tevin Jenkins, I think I like in a matchup with him better than anybody else, and I don't like that matchup. So you got to double team him. You're going to have to keep people in to block just to be able to get this passing game off. And I think it's a Mercedes Lewis game for that. Two tight ends, keep one in the block so that you can double team Jeffrey Simmons. Because if you lose focus on him, if you don't focus on him the entire game, he's going to make a play that's going to change this game. What do you think about that, Jeffrey Simmons versus our offensive line?
I mean, I agree with you guys. He's a disruptor. He's a monster player. I do think that the Bears are able to focus a little more, give him a little more, spend a little more attention on him because there's not much else on that line that I'm too worried about. I mean, a year ago, Travis Gibson was their starting defensive end, so I don't.
Well, they got Arden Key. They got Arden Key. He's an outside linebacker, pass rusher. I mean, he's a guy that worked pretty well in tandem with Jeffrey Simmons last year in some
I
spots.
think he'll be able to double team Collins for majority of that game. I really do, and not have to worry too
Simmons,
much about or so yeah Simmons like, and not have
no,
to worry too much. Not have to worry too much about pressure coming from anywhere else. So I mean, he's probably gonna get his man. The guy eats. He's gonna get probably a sack, but I don't think I don't know that my matchup's on it's on the opposite side of the ball,
well,
literally.
here let's focus on this one for a second, and then you got yours, all right. But I just again, Jeffrey Simmons is the guy in my mind that will change this game if the Bears let him, if they don't focus on him. The guy, and he's always fucking angry, bro. He's always trying to take somebody's head off. So I mean, I think that that's a matchup that the Bears can easily lose in this
No, they
game.
will.
Yeah, yeah, and but it's how much do you lose? Like how much do you give up? And I mean, does that mean
I still have Caleb's ability to get away from an individual or an individual pass rusher, an individual disruptor.
for sure? No, it's the bigger concern is does he push the pocket and collapse it, and then Caleb's running into Arden Key because of that. That's my fear. Caleb's gonna have to keep his head on a swivel in this game, and protect that ball and get the ball out quick. Running backs, tight ends. This is gonna be a big game for those guys because they're gonna need quick passes. In my mind, that's what I'm thinking. But I would say, Jeffrey Simmons is a guy that's gonna win. So you got to figure out how much you're gonna let him win, and just try to keep it as to a minimum as much as you can.
Yeah, you're gonna have to limit him for sure, man. And there's like you said, Tevin Jenkins is a quality guard, but I don't know if there's no player on that line that's gonna beat him one on one.
No, sir. Double teams all day. You need to know where he is, and if that center is, if he's lined up on Nate Davis, Coleman Shelton needs to be leaning over there to help. And if he's lined up on Tevin Jenkins, maybe Braxton Jones needs to be stepping over to help. That's why I'm saying you got to have Mercedes Lewis on the end there to fill in so that they can focus their double team on Simmons because
Which will still have an impact on the Bears because, like, then you're asking a 40-year-old to defend or to block Arden Key. You know what I mean? Then you're
yeah,
asking for
the the
problems.
tight ends in general just need to be ready to block, chip before they go out for their pass routes because the Bears are going to have to send their attention to Jeffrey Simmons. In my mind, man, there's one player on the Titans team that can change the game for them to where what I see as a win for the Bears turns into a loss, and it's Jeffrey Simmons. What's your matchup, bro?
I mean, the matchup that could impact the game probably the most in the Bears' favor is Montez Sweat and J.C. Latham
That's a good one. I like that.
because
Let's break that down.
if the most important thing when it comes to playing young quarterbacks, and he's almost a rookie. I mean, Will Levis didn't have a whole lot of experience, is to get pressure.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily believe in anybody else on this
Where
line
did that
currently.
fucking thumbs up come from? Did
I
you
don't
just?
know, man.
That's funny.
I don't know. I've seen those before, and I'm not
I
sure.
always thought that they came from the chat, but
Yeah, me too. I thought you did it
we're
just now.
recording, so no,
Yeah,
I didn't touch shit, man.
that's interesting. Yeah, cool.
You said something StreamYard liked.
AI
Anyways,
just gave me a thumbs up. That's pretty cool. No, yeah, that's
AC
because
Latham versus Montez Sweat.
yeah, I think if you get to Will Levis, it's going to pose problems for this Titans team. I think I could see the way the Bears secondary was playing when Sweat was acquired, hawking the ball like they did at the end of last year. I think they had 17 interceptions over like 5 weeks. I could see Levis being a guy who throws them. You know what I mean? The secondary doesn't leave a lot of room for
Will
error.
Levis sucks.
Yeah,
I'm
and
sorry.
you
Will
can't
Levis sucks.
you got to be
The Bears should feed on him.
against this secondary. You got to be accurate. You know what I mean? You can't leave whole lot of room for error. Jalen Johnson proved last year he'll take the ball from you. Tyreek Stevens
Tyreek
just
Stevenson,
is
Kevin
a
Byard is a ball
monster to
hawk.
deal with as
Yeah.
a physical corner. So like if you're not a tough receiver, if you're a Calvin Ridley and you're on Tyreek Stevenson, you're in trouble. I mean, he's gonna push you around for sure. But yeah, I see getting pressure to Will Levis being
being the
well.
key to
We'll
the game.
get into that. We'll get into the necessities here.
We're into the necessities right now. What do you mean?
Oh, I didn't know. I thought you were pushing it up. You didn't actually say the bare
No, these
necessities.
are the bare
All right.
necessities.
Yeah. So
I
actually,
didn't say that, but
pressure on Will Levis is what changes this game to me.
and the way I look at that is, I mean, the Titans need to look at Sweat the way I'm saying the Bears need to look at Jeffrey Simmons. The
Yeah,
Titans
I think I actually said that
double
on the.
team.
Yeah.
Yes, the Titans are going to need to double team Sweat. JC Latham is a big boy. He's a big boy, and he moves well. And the Titans took him number 7 overall.
Well,
So,
and man, Sweat can't go into because Sweat's most popular and Sweat's most effective move is cutting inside. And with Skaronski sitting next to Latham,
well, I just don't know that he's going to be able to bull rush Latham, but Latham is an unknown. So that's where the Bears need to
yeah,
attack
a
first.
rookie.
Yeah,
I think Sweat's going to
yeah.
have a good day with Latham. I think Skaronski's
If
going to have
they
to do a lot
double
of
though,
help.
if Skoronski's coming over to help, now that
Yeah.
becomes tougher. So then the question becomes, because we're talking defensive line versus offensive line, is where does if Sweat's getting double teamed all day and drawing that attention, who's stepping up on the other side, or who's
Well,
stepping up on the inside? How are we getting that pressure if Sweat is not able to apply it? If they do, if because their plan is going to be to take Sweat out of the game.
yeah,
Now,
you're going
they
to see a lot
accomplish
of
that.
Kyler.
Who steps in?
You're going to see some Kyler Gordon blitzes. I have no doubt about that. You're going to see it seems to
I'd
be
love to see
brilliant.
those on the same side as Sweat. Go right
Yeah,
at that at Latham with
well,
Sweat
it's
Gordon. Yeah,
proven to be effective, and not just in the preseason, but last year as well. But you're also going to see, man, a guy that I like. I've said this before. Daryl Taylor's a guy that I see getting a sack in this game for sure. I
interesting.
like I like the stand up, no foot, no hand in the dirt. But I really like the fact that like Walker is an impact player when it comes to defending the run. Man, he's not a slouch. There's a reason the Bears have faith in him being their starter this year, but he doesn't provide much edge rush, and he has no motor. I've said this for months on this channel. His motor's very like when Yannick got injured and he had to be on the field more often, it made him less productive. So a guy with fresh legs like Daryl Taylor coming in, whose only job is to get after a rookie quarterback in this week or a young quarterback in this week one, I like him, man. I think he gets home.
Okay, and I mean the Bears' defense against the run has been stout. That's been their calling card. Going back to last year, even when their defense wasn't producing the sacks or the turnovers, they were strong against the run. So if Walker can play a part in that, and then they're rotating in Austin Booker and they're rotating in Taylor and they're rotating at defensive tackle with
Well, that's where I'm concerned,
Billings,
man.
that's
We're talking about how efficient their run defense was. Pickens was a pretty big part of that. That's the one thing. A lot of people looked at Pickens like he almost, I don't know, like he underwhelmed because he wasn't a heavy afflictive player in the pass rush, but he really isn't there to be that. And I thought he played the run pretty well. And it's looking like the Bears still have not said, man, what the hell is going on with this guy? How strange is this?
yeah, that
We,
that might be a big one. I mean, they made that trade for Chris
Chris
Williams,
Williams, yeah.
out of Cleveland, and I think there's a reason why. So, I mean, we got who we got going into this game, and Pickens ain't one of those guys. So between Billings, Dexter, and Williams, hopefully they're able to stop the run and maybe through Dexter get some pressure up the middle to help out Montez Sweat.
Yeah, that's
That,
going to be tough.
get Lloyd Cushenberry, you got Dylan Raduz. I mean,
Goronski.
the Skoronski, the Titans have a pretty solid offensive line. It's the game is going to be won or lost with these two matchups we just talked about, and on a bigger scale, the offensive line versus the defensive line on both sides.
Yeah,
And
where I
we've been
think,
saying, and we've been saying for months that our biggest concerns with this Bears team are the offensive line and
yeah, the
defensive line,
trenches. Yeah.
right? So that becomes a little scary going into this game. You just hope that, like you said, if Eberflus and Washington line up some stunts and some blitzes to get pressure, that they work and they get home, because blitzing is all well and good unless you don't get there in time, because then you're leaving space for to complete a pass or to get a run behind you, you know. So if they don't get home, that's not going to work, man. So one-on-one matchups along this offense and defensive line are what's going to decide this game. And I think Simmons might be the best player of those guys in this game. So that's a little concerning to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. The trenches are a problem for the Bears. It's going to be a problem when they're facing good units like this Titans offensive line. They're gonna have to pull some tricks out of their sleeve, man. Without a doubt, they're not gonna get the pressure they need from the front four. So you're gonna see some blitzes for sure. And yeah, there's no doubt that this when this offensive line, this interior offensive line plays a guy like Simmons. This is what I was talking to you guys about. This is a
This
problem.
has been my concern too. Yeah, I mean,
It's a
there's
problem.
really
And then the Bears other I think they finished 28th last year, guys, out of 32 in defending pass catching receiving back or pass catching backs. So if I'm the
keep saying,
Bears,
guys, we're having a conversation, just me and you, but people want to listen in, they'll listen in. You're talking to me. I'm talking.
yeah, I know. I also address the audience that will eventually watch the show. That's some, but
Hopefully.
yeah, but yeah, guys, watch the damn show. But yeah, the players that concern me most, man, are not even. I don't know. It's just like this Tajay Sharp powered combination is what concerns me
Let's
because
talk about that. That's the next matchup because I mean,
because
I think we kind of just decided the offensive defensive line. I kind of a
not in our favor.
stalemate, but not
Yeah,
in our favor if we're going to be honest. Yeah. So I mean, linebackers versus running backs. If you're talking Tajay Spears and Pollard versus Edmonds, Edwards, and
and Gordon.
Sanborn, what
Gordon.
where do you think the advantage lies in this game with that position matchup?
Oh, it's gonna be rough, man. I
You think
Howard
so?
is not a great running back. I have no faith in him being like a good fantasy player. But the one thing the guy does do well is catch the ball and
I forgot his first name for a second. It's Tony
yeah,
Pollard.
catches the ball well. Spears is a player that I think is about to break out. He do from week one. Spears is my biggest a player. You know what I mean? Like if they're able to get him the ball is in his hands. He's the kind of guy that's going to tear you apart. I don't like. He is a impact player. I really believe that. Like
Yeah, I agree.
I don't want the ball in that guy's hands, and it's going to get there. And Levis is going to look for it early and often. You know what I mean? Like that's my biggest concern too. Is like I could see this being like their scheme, the Titans' offensive game plan being like just get the ball to these two backs, get the ball to your hands as quickly as possible. And the Bears were at their worst against defending those types of players. So I do see TJ Edwards or TJ or sorry, Tremaine Edmonds taking a giant step forward. TJ Edwards was
Have a
a
great season.
really good player.
TJ
Really good
Edwards is going
player.
to have a great season.
Yeah.
Our linebackers are in for a hell of a year, I think.
TJ Edwards exploded for the Bears last year, guys. If you look at the numbers, he was actually probably a top 10 linebacker in football. But Edmonds was the guy that I kind of expected more from because of the contract, which wasn't substantially higher than Edwards, but he did get paid. And that's the
Yeah,
guy I think.
substantial enough for
Yeah,
sure.
and he took a year with the Bills to kind of get acclimated and get comfortable. So I'm
And he
I'm
had
not
the injury. He had the injury last year too. When he came back from that and actually started getting healthy, he played really well. Edmonds is a smart player. Edmonds is good at identifying what an offense is doing, and that's gonna be another big key to this game. Is can we are we going to get fooled? Are we going to get fooled by because Edmonds is going to be the guy calling the plays, and he's going to be the one trying to identify what the offense is doing and get that information to his teammates. And is he going to diagnose that right? And if they are running a sweep with Tony Pollard, are we going to get over there in time to stop him? Because I mean, Tony Pollard had a disappointing season last year, but the guy's still fast, and if he gets to the edge and beats us, beats us on our angles, then we're gonna have problems. But if the Bears have some anticipation and can get there before him, and that's a lot of that's gonna fall on Edmonds and Edwards, then I think we can shut down that run. Um, like you said, Aaron Jones type, those guys that are speedy and want to get outside are the ones that have given the Bears problems. The ones that run right up the middle, a Josh Jacobs type, the in between the tackles guys, the Bears usually handle pretty. At least last year, they handled pretty easily. So they're going to do a combination of both. It's going to come down to if the Bears can make them one dimensional. If they can eliminate the passing game and make them just have the run as something that's been successful, then the Bears can hone in on that and shut it down. I think it's going to be a hell of a matchup to watch. And Tremaine Edmonds, I think, is in for a big season and a big game. I think that's a matchup the Bears can win, man. I got the Bears. I got the Bears at an advantage in this spot if we're talking linebackers versus running backs.
Yeah, and I still just, I don't know. And I'm not, guys, we don't do that on this show. I'm not thinking in terms of a Bears fan. I still just don't think the Titans have enough. And here's where I think they lose tremendously because their offensive line probably better than our defensive line. Their defensive line, or well, they at least have a guy in the right place to attack the Bears, which is in the interior line. But our receiving core versus their DBs, and I know Snead was.
Real quick. What about our running backs versus their linebackers? Dude, what do you think of Swift in this game?
I mean, they signed two like linebackers they like, but I think Swift goes off in this game.
I think so too.
So we'll get into it when we call our final scores. But yeah, I do see Swift getting in the end zone this game for sure.
Dude, Kaplan was just on with us on CSP on Monday saying the Bears got to establish the run. And, I kind of pushed back on that and said, like, well, the Titans were like 28th against the pass last year. They allowed the sixth most fantasy points to wide receivers. Their secondary has been susceptible, but I really do think, and I agree with Cap, the more I think about it, Swift and the running backs in general are going to be the key to this game to get Caleb settled in and not just running, but Swift catching the ball. I think is going to make an impact in this game. And again, just like with Pollard, if Swift can get to the edge on these linebackers, it's going to be tough for them to stop him from taking it to the house, man. I like our running backs in this game to make a huge impact.
Yeah, and I also like the center of the field. I like between the seams. I like Cole Kmet in this game.
Yeah,
I like the outlets that young quarterbacks typically rely on more so than the guys that flash in this game.
yeah. Like I was saying, I think because just by the fact that the Bears are going to have to keep an extra blocker in there, you're going to need to rely on your tight ends and your running backs. Some quick passes probably is going to be what
And you could see this as being a Keenan Allen type game for sure, man. I mean, if he's inside, as much hype as there is around Rome, and as good as we know DJ is, and I still believe he's the alpha on that pass catching core. The Keenan
Well,
Allen's
Keenan
perfect for
Allen with
games.
this ankle, man, that's coming back from last year is a little concerning. I mean, that's something to think about. If he's limited this game, I mean, you're going to be asking for a lot from Roma Dunze in his first game. So we're relying on a rookie quarterback and a rookie receiver to make really big impacts. So I mean, like,
Yeah, but I agree with you. But Rome man is a guy who, if Keenan Allen, DJ Moore on this team is a start, he's a starter on any other football team, and he's probably an impact player week one. So like, I'm not concerned with Rome being the guy. Of all the injuries the
give me one sec,
Bears,
Brando. Keep going. Sorry.
yeah, of all the injuries the Chicago Bears could sustain, it's probably at the wide receiver position because Ryan Poles made sure that was something he addressed over the offseason through the draft and through free agent or through a trade. He got himself depth, probably better depth at that position than any other position on the Bears, maybe running back. But so I'm not really concerned about Roma Dunze having to play if Keenan Allen can't. But I do still believe even Keenan Allen, even in poor health, is still kind of the same guy he's been all his whole career, right? He never impressed anybody with his strength or his speed. It's his ability to run routes and his hands. And even if he's good enough to go, even with a minor injury, if he's able to play, he's still going to be effective. I believe that in the slot. Like I said, I think the Bears attack the center of the field specifically. I don't think Caleb starts week one of his professional career throwing outside the numbers against two good corners. I'm going to guess if he does that, if we're going after DJ Moore and Rome on the outside, you're probably looking at least an interception for Caleb in game one. But I don't see Caleb going with between Snead and I can't even pronounce the other DB's name, but between these two players,
Awuzie.
Awuzie, yeah,
Dobe Awuzie.
they've got some pretty quality corners. It would be a bad approach, I think, for a rookie quarterback week one to start throwing at those guys. So if you can exploit this middle of the field with Swift, with Komet, with Everett, with these guys, I it's much safer bet than beating this team. And then the one thing I love about the Bears' advantage, and the one thing I don't think Caleb's going to hesitate to do, even week one, is take your shots, man. This safety duo, I should say, was ranked 31st in the league last year. Take your shots. Take your shots.
Amani Hooker is a solid, strong safety in this league. I mean, they're decent in that secondary, and adding L'Jarius Sneed, who you brought up, that's a huge thing for them. And I mean, that's something we should talk about too, man. L'Jarius Sneed versus DJ Moore is a hell of a matchup to watch. You watch L'Jarius Sneed, man, and this guy just gets up on receivers and he gets in their head. He wants to put his hands on you off the line and disrupt your timing, disrupt your route, and then he's able to backpedal and still stick with you and be on you like a blanket. And like I said, he plays mental games. He wants to get in your head and get you upset. That's one advantage I think DJ Moore has is he's a pretty calm and cool, collected dude. You don't really see him lose his shit too much. Like you saw Jamar Chase lose his shit against L'Jarius Sneed last year when the Bengals played the Chiefs. I mean, I think this is going to be a tough matchup. And L'Jarius Sneed don't stay on one side of the field. At least he didn't with the Chiefs. If the Titans stick with that, L'Jarius Sneed is following DJ Moore wherever he goes, and he's
Yeah,
just
but
trying to irritate him throughout this game.
and I'm not being a Bears fan here, but let's not lose sight of why we thought this team was so special to begin with, man. They have three wide receivers, and you need three L'Jarius Sneeds. This is the beauty of having these three guys. And I
Yeah, you
believe
shut down
Rome,
one, you
I
got two
believe
other ones to
Rome
step up.
is that guy. You don't have three corners with the ability to cover all three of these guys. And man, there's no way. That's what I said this. I think
And Snead is a
that
man cornerback. He is.
the
That guy
the
wants to play
first
a man.
the first show we did after the drafting of Rome, we were talking about who we feel the Bears are after the draft, and I remember saying, there's no team in the NFL that has three guys that are going to cover this team in man. In zone, you can do whatever the hell you need to do to make it work.
But they can
In
still find
man,
holes in that too. Keenan Allen will still find a hole in that zone. So
yeah,
will DJ Moore.
yeah. Well, yeah, Keenan Allen's is his best in zone, and
Yes.
so
Yes.
so in man you're in trouble. In zone you're in trouble. Ryan Poles has done something I don't know that I've ever seen, man. Like I've seen teams with two really quality receivers and a guy that is
Well,
good enough. Like when you see T. Higgins and Chase, and then you have Boyd when he
that
was
was
there.
that's where
It
I was gonna
was
go.
it
Those
was like these are three really
receivers.
quality players, but there
Yeah.
was a one guy who you knew was a big step down. Like Boyd was the guy who you knew was like just not never going to start over one of these other guys. Rome could start
Boyd's in
to
this game too. That's weird. That's funny too. Boyd's in.
Rome could start today. He could. Rome could start today.
Rome
So
is in a crazy position because, like you said, he's a guy that any team they would have drafted to be their number one receiver in a lot of these teams, and he got drafted to a team where he gets to be a luxury,
he's not
and
even the number two.
that's
We
crazy.
drafted a number one to
Number
not
one
even be our
out.
number two. That's
Yeah.
that's a very unique position, guys. And I don't know a lot of NFL teams that have been in this position. And the problem it poses for defenses is you have to have a quality secondary across the board.
Yeah,
It can't be
but
one guy.
it becomes concerning if you're talking about Keenan Allen and that injury. So now those three becomes two if Keenan Allen is not able to go at 100%. I'm hoping he is. The Bears are being a
Yeah, but
little dumb
Justin,
about this. Like,
has Keenan Allen ever gone at 100%?
uh, yeah, I mean, last year he was
Before he was gone
got
for half the
injured.
year.
Before he got injured. It was 4 games. It was 4 games. But I mean, like, that's my only concern with that is if you got Snead and Awuzie, then and Keenan Allen ain't good to go, then what's the whole thing you're talking about there, that formula where it's like you take this guy away and we got these two guys. You take these two guys away, we still got this guy that can hurt you. That's where I think those tight ends and running backs come into it because those guys are gonna have to win
Well,
quick.
and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to keep saying this, guys. Not as a Bears fan, I'm going to say this as well. I like their number four receiver. I think he's a problem
Tyler
too.
Scott
I
is
think he's a
awesome.
problem for sure. I think I
Tyler
think
Scott is
I
going,
think Caleb is a player who would exploit Tyler Scott's strengths more so than Justin Fields
no doubt, because he can throw a deep ball accurately and with
on the
anticipation.
move. Yeah.
With anticipation, yeah. So that Tyler Scott's about to be unlocked this year, I think. So no, it's crazy to think about how good this receiving core is compared to what we're used to having in Chicago. I just really my question, I guess, is do you think Snead can take more out of the game to where that's one guy down? Do you think Snead has that
I
capability?
think yeah, I think Steve can definitely eliminate one of those guys. But that, like I said,
It's going to be DJ Moore. He goes on
that's
the number one guy and he
that
sticks with him.
that's the beauty the Bears have is like you can afford to do so.
Okay. So do you think he shuts down DJ Moore? Is what I'm asking you.
I think he absolutely could, but I think if he does, Roma Dunze has a huge football game.
I think DJ Moore's like prop line is 60 yards, 60.5, something like that on most sites that I've seen. Like that. Do you?
I still like DJ Moore in the red zone. I always do, but
Mhm.
and DJ Moore. Here's the good thing about DJ Moore, man. With a guy that can cover well, is DJ Moore's still a problem because after he catches the ball is when he literally makes people look silly, man. I mean,
That's one thing that Snead's really good at, though, too, man. He's good at being there when the receiver catches the ball and making a solid tackle.
yeah,
So
I think he was ranked as the number one corner in football last year. I think
he does
in
it all.
between him and McDuffie, it was outrageous. Those two guys were playing next to each other. But I there's man. Let's say
Do you
you
think?
had
Let's.
let's say you had two defenders that could lock up two Bears players for the entire game. I still think they have enough problems.
You
Like
still got a
uh,
Dunze. You still got Komet. You still
you
got
still got
Swift. Still got
Everett.
Tyler Scott. You still
Yeah,
got Everett.
you
I
still
mean,
got problems.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
So we think that Caleb can get off in with the pass in this game. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, because not only do I think that, also think this. I think this is a good. I don't want to see a lot of this, guys. I don't, but I think this is also a game where Caleb's going to be able to get out and get some yards. I do. I could see
Run for a couple
if the
touchdowns.
over under on Caleb's rushing yards was like 32.5, I'd take the over.
There's no way it's even that high.
No, it's not, and I would take the over on that. I think Caleb's going to get out of the pocket. I think he's going to run. I think they're like you said, man. Our backs, I think throwing the ball to backs is going to be, and that's something young quarterbacks love to do. We know that. We know we have We have three running backs in this team that can catch the damn ball, dude. I
So
haven't seen enough.
Caleb in the passing game in this matchup, that's a win for us against this Titans secondary.
Yeah, I think so. Just because of, and I was saying this to Sean, man. It's not about scheming against. If you're a defense, you're not scheming against Caleb. You're scheming against weapons. You got to do.
Yeah,
You
but
have,
Caleb needs to get them the ball. Caleb needs to get them the ball. So
you've
still
got to
scheme
think
against
about. But you've got to think about those three guys before you think about the quarterback who's playing against you. You have to, because
uh, I, I mean, Caleb. If Caleb has time to get the ball out, then those guys are going to feast. But if they get pressure on Caleb, then that creates problems for
I
us.
don't. I don't. Well, I mean, I don't love the Bears' offensive line, but I don't think they're bad enough to where Caleb is not going to be able to, get, I don't know, 18 to
Think we're
24
going to see
completions.
Caleb having to work some magic like Lamar was tonight?
No, no. I,
Okay,
I think Caleb's a much more reserved player than Lamar's. I think Caleb's going to
he's a
continue.
magician in the pocket, though, man.
He's
And if
go-
the Bears are allowing pressure, then
he's going
what do
to
you do?
continue to look for a pass where Lamar.
Okay, I don't mean like that. I just meant more like how Lamar. Obviously, he's not going to run for 100 yards. I don't expect that. I'm saying like maneuvering in the pocket the way Lamar was on those last two drives and looking to
Oh,
pass.
dude,
Good. We're going to see
yeah,
that.
I'm the wrong guy to ask that question. Caleb's going to do that this whole year.
Yes. Okay.
I don't think this
So then you're
offensive
the
line.
right guy to ask that
Yeah,
question. That's
I
the
don't
answer
think
I
this
was trying to
offensive line is good. PPF's 11th overall grade is
get. Yeah, that's awesome.
outrageously overranked. I
That's
mean, I
very
don't know.
gracious.
Yeah,
That's
that's a
very
lot
great.
of that's was or optimistic, I should say, because like I don't. Where is the difference here from the 31st unit we watched last year? Coleman Shelton. I don't understand.
No, no, the difference. If I'm going to make a case for the difference, it's
It's
Tevin Jenkins.
Caleb.
It's Tevin Jenkins staying healthy. It's Darnell Wright stepping up in his second year as one of the best right tackles in the NFL. It's Braxton Jones establishing himself as a middle of the
Yeah,
pack
you're
left,
on your third if.
and it's Caleb, and it's
And
Caleb. It's
so,
all those things combined
but
that
three of
make.
those were ifs. I
Oh, they're
don't
all
that
ifs. They're all
that
ifs.
doesn't deserve an 11th overall rank, man. I
I
mean,
don't. I don't. I don't know. I don't put so much stock in PFF. I like I said, I've been saying for months, if this offensive line is middle of the pack, 15, 16, even 17 ranked, like by whatever statistics they're using, then I think that the Bears are going to have a successful offensive season because that's enough for Caleb Williams. That's
I
what I think.
think I think Caleb's going to be doing Caleb's thing the entire year. I think we already
He's
saw it
going
in
to have to.
preseason.
Yeah,
In
he's
the
going to
couple
have
of
to.
drives, the preseason, he didn't have his full line, but in the couple of drives we saw Caleb Williams in the preseason, he made his best plays when he got the hell out of the pocket. That's what I think is going to
Oh,
happen all year.
that's gonna pull the defense out of position when he does that. So it's gonna be an advantage for this offense, and I think it's an advantage for him this Sunday. I think Caleb and this Bears arsenal of weapons on offense do win out against this Titans defense, especially if we're talking wide receivers versus the secondary. I think they could do it. I do see the possibility of L'Jarius Sneed shutting down more, but like you said, there's other guys to step up. I'm really counting on and hoping for a healthy Keenan Allen this Sunday. If we don't get that, it does change things, Brandon. Whether or not we want to admit it, it does change things and how we look at that matchup. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of matchups the Bears are just going to outright lose in this game, man. I think
What do you think that Will
I
Levis and those receivers versus this Bears secondary is a match?
no, that's where I love the
Let's
Bears
hear
the
it.
most. I think DeAndre Hopkins is looking out. Still haven't gotten a for sure going to go. And when he first
Yeah.
suffered the injury, it was first report he's going to miss a couple of weeks of the NFL season. I'm not feeling. If I'm a Titans fan, I'm not feeling great about seeing Hopkins on the field. But if he's not, and Ridley's your number one,
Ridley, Tyler Boyd is your number two. I mean,
yeah, you got Tajay Sharp, I think is the guy's name or something.
uh,
Or it's
Jackson. No, I don't even know.
and
No,
and 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 then
no.
Ickney Westbrook or something.
Westbrook or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, they got a lot of experience. That receiving core's got a lot of experience, but I love this Bears secondary against most receiving cores. Man, there's probably two or three in the NFL that I'd take over the Bears
This
secondary.
secondary guys. I mean, we've had multiple people on shows that we've done and we've asked about it. I'm convinced, and you ain't gonna convince me otherwise until I see it. This is a top five secondary in the NFL. The talent that's in this secondary is crazy. Jaquan Brisker is gonna step up into a better player this year than he was last year. Kyler Gordon is gonna do that. Tyreek Stevenson is gonna do that, and Jalen Johnson is a top six cornerback in the league trying to make himself a top three. I mean, and then you add in Terrell Smith, and then you add in Kevin Byard.
I was just going to say that it's the unit in which the Bears have the most depth for sure.
Yeah, and it's not just depth; it's got
Guys that
like
could play.
guys that
Yeah.
could play on other teams. Terrell Smith could
Next,
be a starting
well,
cornerback.
guys that could play more importantly next to the guys who are starting. Like,
Yes,
if you want
yes.
to plug these guys in for additional coverage, they're going to do their job for sure, man.
So I mean, the NFL is tough, and we try to break it down into these matchups, and it's like if the receivers were playing against the DBs just in a straight route running drill, I like our DBs. The problem that comes into play with this game that we're playing right now is that if the Bears don't get pressure, which we already talked about, we don't know how that's going to go. If the Bears don't get pressure, then that makes it harder on our secondary, and
Well,
that
yeah,
makes
because
it on their receivers, man. And then if you got to start sending blitzes, then you're taking away a defensive player in the backfield that could be there sitting in that cover two zone. So it's like that if all these things kind of stack up and work with each other. But if you're talking about straight up their receivers against our DBs and Will Levis, who I think is not a good quarterback in the NFL, and that's my biggest reason I think the Bears are going to win this game is that Will Levis is going to throw them a couple picks in this game. In my mind, but if you take away that pass rush, it's a straight win. But if you add that in, now it becomes like, well, does Levis get enough time? And the sun shines on a dog's ass, and is that enough to win the game? Like what do you do if you can't get pressure? Then you start doing things out of desperation, and that impacts your defensive backfield.
and this is the other problem I think is a problem for the Bears all year, man. When they play quality offensive lines, they're going to have trouble, without a doubt.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah,
now, if they're playing a quality offensive line in front of a Patrick Mahomes, I feel a lot worse than a quality offensive line in front of Will Levis.
yeah.
I think even if Will Levis has enough time to throw, he's going to make mistakes. That's just who I think Will Levis is, and I think any young quarterback, mistakes are unavoidable for young quarterbacks, man. Even when the things line up, even when the receivers get separation, the offensive line holds up. These guys make mistakes. Caleb's going to do the same thing. This is a secondary where Will Levis is going to make mistakes because they don't leave a lot of room for error. Like I said, man, you can't be late on throws. You can't overthrow. You can't you've got to be on the
Gotta
money
be, you
against
gotta be perfect. Yeah,
this
and Will
Bears
Levis is far
secondary.
from that. Yes.
Yeah, and a guy like Jalen Johnson, if he's able to read your eyes for a split second, he's going to cut her out. These guys just they're very aggressive corners, and guys like Calvin Ridley aren't good against aggressive corners. He's not a tough guy, you know what I mean? He can get behind you, but he's not a tough guy. Hopkins is getting there in age, man. Even Hopkins, if he plays, I like Jalen Johnson over Hopkins all day, dude. Like,
I think everybody's been talking about the receiving. I like Jalen Johnson in that matchup too, Brandon. And I everybody's been talking about the receiving core that the Titans have put together. And shit, I'll be wrong if I'm wrong, but I'm looking at. I didn't like Calvin Ridley last year in the
I like
draft.
the Boyd signing more than Ridley.
The Boyd sign. I was screaming for the Bears to sign Boyd before
Yeah.
they drafted a Dunze because I do like Boyd and he's a veteran leader, you know that. But it's just it's paper mache to me. I don't think it holds up. I think DeAndre Hopkins with his age. I think Calvin Ridley with his it,
Age.
he doesn't no he just doesn't win contested
He's
catch.
also he's also not young.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then Tyler Boyd is a solid number three.
His age.
If you have Keenan Allen and if you have Keenan Allen and DJ Moore, Tyler Boyd is a solid number three. You have two kind of guys that could be question marks. Tyler Boyd is not a solid number three, and he damn sure ain't going to be a solid number one or number two. Not no, sir. So and then I just have no faith in Will Levis. I didn't like him coming out of the draft last year. I've been saying that, and I think this is a game where the Bears defense is going to feast on some turnovers, man. I
Yeah, and
think
I think
they're
as well, in order to aid that as well, I think the 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 thing that something that I was against last year, man, and I ate my words, and that the contract and the value of the pick traded still bothers me, but I Montez Sweat is a wrecking ball, and even if you play him well, he's going to get to the quarterback one or two times, maybe three times in a game. I believe he's that kind of player. Like
even if it's just a
you
pressure, even if
you
it's
can
pressure.
throw everything at him. He's still gonna get home at least. Like Chris Jones did tonight. He had the strip sack. I thought Chris Jones for a majority of that game against that offensive line that I was just telling you was egregiously bad. I thought Chris Jones was, especially in the second half, pretty well maintained. Like they did what they could to block. But those guys
Need one or
still,
two plays a game. One or
yeah,
two plays a game.
still, and I see Sweat, and against a quarterback like Levis, if that a quarterback like that, if that's the quarterback he's going to cause a problem for, it's probably going to end up in a mistake, man. It's probably going to end up in a mistake that affects the game. I mean, I could see. I hate saying this. I could see a pick six in this game going either way. I really hate saying it. Snead is a player that, like you said, he's aggressive. He's tight. He can cut
He
routes.
stays on you, man. He's
Yeah,
just watching his film, man. That's like a master class in how to play man bump coverage, dude. It's insane. It's insane how good.
yeah. There clearly had to be a cap issue because I don't see why the Chiefs would allow a player like that to get away. But
Well,
I mean,
now we get to go up against
and I
them.
don't remember what did they trade for. I don't remember what they got in return. But
Was it a second or third round pick? It wasn't any. It wasn't crazy. It wasn't a
yeah, so
crazy.
it had to be a cap issue. But
Well, it certainly was. He wanted to get paid. He signed a big deal with Tennessee. The Chiefs didn't want to sign him to that deal. They couldn't sign him to that deal. They had other places to spend their money.
I guess when we talk about this game, man, the one thing that I'm kind of thinking on is like For weeks I'm just rolling into this game like we get the Titans week 1, man. Like the Titans, hell yeah. And then you kind of open your eyes to the realization that like the Bears
There's
could
no
lose.
easy.
The
There's
Bears
no
could
easy
lose,
week in the
and
NFL.
yeah,
Yeah,
the Bears could lose, and you wouldn't be surprised. You know, what I mean,
no,
you'd be
because
disappointed more than most losses because it's a team. So this is what I said when I was talking to a buddy of mine at work. Man, it's like, this
the
is not
Patriots,
a
man.
this is not a must win game. It's not a must win game. It's a must beat team. That's the way that I've mentality I've had. So like, if they lose this game, it's like it's so disappointing because it's such a good start for
Where does
them.
that set your expectations? Does that
Yeah,
reset your expectations?
yeah. Are they still just the darling? You know what I mean? But it is a game they could lose. If you look at
No,
Simmons, you
clearly. I
look
mean,
at
we could sit here, Brandon, and we could be doing a Titans podcast, and we could take all this information that we've been talking about and spin it the other way, and make just as a compelling of a case as to why the Titans are going to win this game. We
yeah.
really could. That's the one thing I noticed in looking at what what I think is important to the what are the keys to the victory in this game. You can make the argument the other way just as easily. So I've been thinking about this game as like, wow, what a great opener for the season. But it's like then you just like you looked at tonight, like the Ravens looked like they were out of it, and then they were one play away from tying that game. So it's
Yeah,
like,
and I guess when it comes to games like these, the benefit is the Bears are at home.
yeah, and that's what you hope for. And they're 4.5 point favorites, man. It's like, so there's a reason for that. It's because they're at home. It's because they are looked at as a better team. We're not just being homers with that. I mean, if you were going to simulate this game in Madden, the Bears are probably going to win 7 out of 10 times. But
When you're also playing a team in week 1 with a rookie head coach who's about to coach his very first game as a head coach in the NFL.
yeah,
That's
and
always a big thing.
Eberflus needs to do to him what veteran coaches did to Eberflus when he was starting out. He needs to outthink him, he needs to outprepare him, and he needs to show him that this shit ain't easy. Because Eberflus is supposed to be a guy that's coming around here. Like we've all been back and forth
Well,
on
we're supposed to be able to say veteran coach. Yeah, that's
exactly, but he's a veteran coach that has a very bad record.
yeah, veteran coach with no veteranship and winning. Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah, and he's a veteran coach that doesn't get wins in his division. This is the year he needs to turn it around, and he needs to start it out with a week 1 where he shows Callahan like this shit ain't easy, man.
yeah.
I went through what
Welcome,
you went through.
welcome to big
Welcome to
league.
the
Yeah,
NFL,
yeah.
but this is my game to win, and I'm gonna show you why and how I do it. And I think the Bears have done a really good job of surrounding him with really good coaches to give him the confidence to be able to do that. His record doesn't. And I don't think Flus is focused on his record. I think he's focused on Sunday against the Titans, and I think the Bears are the better team. I feel like that's pretty
Yeah,
clear.
and where I have most faith in this Bears, I do like DeAndre Hopkins and contested catches even today. Man, he's just a guy who, he's a guy,
Mhm.
big guy. He knows where to place his body to get in front of you. But where I think the Bears have a big advantage is both of these teams are going to take their shots. They're going to try to establish the run. And if they do, they're going to send a couple of balls downfield. You know that. And like, well, Levis has an arm. He does. And Caleb's got an arm. So I like the Bears' chances better on big plays.
Yeah.
This that safety duo is, I mean, they didn't rank very well. I think they did replace one of their safeties, but
Well, they signed Jamal Adams. He's a backup right now on their depth chart behind Amani Hooker. So so, or am I saying his name? Or Amani is that? I might be messing up his name, to
I
be
can't
honest.
tell you too many Titans players,
He's a
man.
second year safety, and he's pretty damn solid, man. So like they got some players, but the Bears are better in the secondary than the Titans are in my mind. They have a better secondary unit. The Bears are better at quarterback. The Bears are better at head coach.
Wide receiver.
The Bears are better at wide receiver, and the Bears are definitely better at tight end.
Yeah,
And
there's no question there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean,
And I
like
think the Bears are better at running back too, man.
DeAndre Swift is gonna show people
Yeah,
what he's about this
Spears
year.
is going to be a good player, but
Mhm.
he's not there yet. So we can say today Swift is a better player than Spears is.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's a wash at defensive line. in terms of comparing these two teams. They both have a standout guy that the offensive line is going to focus on, put all their focus on, and hope that other guys don't beat them. So I think that's a wash. And I think offensive line, the Titans, I would probably rather have the Titans offensive
Yeah,
line
they
than
have the
their
edge.
offensive
Yeah,
line.
for sure.
Right.
They have
So it's
the
like,
edge, and like I said, Swift will
so
get it, or Sweat will get in there once or twice, but they're going to be a problem for sure.
for sure. So we just
This
said,
is a game, man. This would be a game. I'm telling you this. If this is a game that Dexter causes a problem, like if he's in the backfield,
that's
that's
over. It's
huge.
done. It's done.
And with
That's the
the
game.
with
That'll
with
decide the game.
Cushenberry and Skaronski, if he's getting in there, I will have firm belief that that dude is going to be wrecking things all season long.
No,
If he
that
can get by, yeah.
so that's the stuff, the unknown stuff that we need to see play out on the field is the stuff that's the most exciting, because we can still have hopes that Javon Dexter is going to be that guy for this defense, that motor for this defense, the key that unlocks it, and we can still have hope that Caleb is going to be a top five quarterback in the NFL sooner rather than later, and that this receiving core, like you talked about, is potentially the best in the
Yeah,
NFL.
we haven't even talked
Compare them
about
to the Texans. That's about it in my mind.
we haven't even talked about that enough, man. This is a quarterback whom I firmly believe, and you know me, man. I've questioned every quarterback this team selected in the last 20 years.
Yeah, yeah,
This
same
is a
here.
quarterback who I told my brother was kind of skeptical. Not Kyle from Chicago Sports, but or Sean was kind of like sending those texts like what
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
We'll
was
see,
with
guys.
you
It's the
on that.
same as every other Bears quarterback, and I'm telling him like he's going to do things that make you say this. How? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
how the hell did that ball get out of there and end up like he's just gonna? And I think he's gonna do that stuff. He doesn't have to be established or learn or the speed of the game. He's gonna do that stuff week one, man. That's the
Yeah,
one thing he's gonna do. He's
yeah.
gonna do his thing where he just balls out, and it might cost. It might end up being there might end up being some costly mistakes because that's what he does. But he's going to do some things that impress the hell out of you, and that is, I think I don't think something that's going to take a lot of time. I think it's going to be a week one thing.
You really hope that the Bears have a good game plan going into this. That Waldron is kind of prepping Williams to the point where those mistakes don't cost us in this game, because I mean that's going to be the biggest key. If Caleb Williams comes out and throws two interceptions in this game,
No, we probably lose.
the Bears aren't going to overcome that.
No.
So it's like, how many chances do you want him to take? How are you setting up that first drive script? What mentality are you going into this game with? Are you going into it like, let's establish the run and
Well, yeah, like
it's
the like the course of a season for a rookie quarterback, because people think like, oh, there's like, especially when it comes to like fantasy, you hear a lot of this. It's like, oh, when Caleb gets comfortable, when he's like, I'll draft him because when he gets, or Jaden Daniels, when they're comfortable, they're going to be that guy. But it's the same for a game. You know what I mean?
Are they
Like
going to
you
establish his comfort level in the game with quick
quickly,
passes, short,
yeah,
get him in a rhythm, and establish the run to where you can work the play action, and and he doesn't feel like he has to win the game for
yeah.
you.
Let
We
him
did
feel,
see
let
that.
him feel relief
Mhm.
early.
We did see that when he feels like he has to win the game, he takes chances that, and he will hold on to the ball to take a chance that's gonna impact that's where the negative stuff comes out that everyone wanted to harp on before
And that's where the injury risk
Justin
comes too.
Fields.
That's the stuff that worries me about this season, man. That's where injury risk comes.
Hmm.
It's holding on to the ball forever and doesn't know what's behind him. Those are the scariest plays for quarterbacks. And I saw it a few times in the preseason where I was like, oh man, you see somebody coming from behind and it's just like, God, he has no idea he's
Hey,
about to get.
Caleb Williams in this game over under 225 yards passing.
I'll take the under.
You're gonna go with the under 1.5 touchdown passes.
I'll take the over.
Take the over under one interception.
I'll
One
take
and a
the under.
Yeah, so zero interceptions for Caleb in this game. I guess that kind of sets you up wrong with that. 1.5. I guess we'll call it 1.5.
Yeah, I'll take the under. I was gonna say because I could see him throwing one, but I don't see him throwing more than that.
Okay. Okay, very good. So if he goes under the passing yards, that's not the end of the world. But if he throws two touchdowns and just the one interception, we feel like that was a pretty successful outing for Caleb Williams.
Yeah, and I actually have him throwing more yards than he's projected by almost every source and less touchdowns than he's projected by every source. But in game one, well, I'll tell you when we predict our scores, I'll tell you why I think he scores, why I think Caleb
Okay.
scores.
Well, then let's just talk about. I'm gonna. I put a bet down on the game, and I did a parlay. I got Swift over 10.5 receiving yards. I freaking love that. I think that's in Fanatics. In FanDuel, I think it was 12.5 yards, but you're somewhere between 10 and 13 yards is your over under on Swift's receiving yards, and I fucking love that. I think he easily eclipses that.
Yeah, that's a cakewalk.
Yeah,
That's a slam dunk.
yeah, that's one catch, bro. You saw the pass he caught in that the one play he ran in the preseason. The rushing over under, I love it for Swift. Fanatics has it at 45.5. I think FanDuel had it at 40.5. Do you like the over or the under on that for Swift?
I like the over.
I like the over on
It
that
could be
too.
a Swift heavy game for sure.
And then Cole Kmet, I love. Fanatics has him at 20.5 receiving yards. I love the over on that in this game.
Yeah, probably. And I'll imagine they have a low reception count. I'd probably take the over on that as well. It's probably like 3.5 receptions.
For sure, for sure. So if you put all those together, you can get some pretty solid odds on that. $10 can win you a hundred.
Do you know what Caleb's rushing yards is?
Honestly, I didn't see any when I was looking. And
I'll
Fanatics didn't
I'll
have an over under
I'll
on passing yards for him either.
I'll bet you his rushing yards is like 16.5 or something.
I hope we're not seeing him rush too much. I really do. But like, if he needs to make a play to run for a first down, Patrick Mahomes style, then yeah, I could see him easily eclipsing that. Um, what do you got? Any you like?
No, I mean I haven't
Any
really.
bets for the game at all?
No, the Bears game was a game I kind of stayed. I did a bunch of parlays this weekend for week one. The Bears game is one game that I stayed away from. I did have a couple of Swift bets.
Okay.
I had them at the overs. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think
I
we
didn't
both.
touch a Bears. I didn't touch a Bears receiver, man. I don't like them.
No, I didn't like the over under for any of them. Like I said, DJ was at like 60. Keenan Allen was at like 50. I mean, I don't know. Like with the amount of people to catch the ball, those numbers seem high to me. I want to see
And
how
in
the
Caleb's
ball is
first
distributed.
game, I don't
Yeah,
think this is a game where he attacks the receivers. I think this is a game where he's
I
a little
like this game for
more
tight end.
reserved. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to do this game projection or game prediction?
Yep, and that was we did our prop bets there, but we just went through the matchups to the game, the bare necessities for that we think for the Bears to pull out a victory. Bare necessities brought to you by River Street Tavern in East Dundee. Go check them out for all your dining and beverage needs. Great place to get a burger and a beer, guys. Predictions wise, I'll let you take the floor on that, my man. Where you see this
Yeah,
game?
I think the Bears win this game 21-13. I'm gonna say the three touch. I pitched this on the
Ooh,
show.
34
Which was,
points total in this game, huh?
yeah, I think the Bears touchdowns come from. I think Caleb does throw two passing touchdowns, one to Komet, one to Swift, and I think Herbert runs a touchdown this game as well.
Okay. So no defensive touchdowns. You said you thought you could see a pick six maybe going either way.
Yeah,
No defensive touchdown.
I was thinking more on the other side of the ball.
Do you think Caleb's gonna throw a pick six,
I think
motherfucker?
it's possible, yeah, against a guy like Snead, man. I think Caleb's aggressive, Snead's aggressive. Those are tends to be when mistakes
Caleb's
are made.
smart though. Caleb's smart though. So I don't see that happening, but we'll leave that alone.
I
So
don't
you
think Levis scores a whole lot of points, man. I think Levis throws a few picks.
okay? I see that happening too. A few is a little. I see two picks in this game for Will Levis. I don't see the Titans scoring a whole lot, but I do have them at 17 points. But I got the Bears at 27. I think the Bears take this 27-17. I could see a defensive touchdown in this game for the Bears. I could see their special teams, giving them some really good field position. I love Swift to go off in this game. I mean, I got him on multiple fantasy teams. I think 3 out of my 4 fantasy teams this year I got him on because I got all the stock invested in DeAndre Swift. I could see him having 100 total yards between receiving and rushing, and 1 touchdown. I don't see Herbert getting that touchdown. I see Swift getting it. He's going to get one where he takes it to the house. Um, Caleb Caleb could throw those 2 touchdowns for sure. I don't know that DJ Moore gets one. I'd like to see Roma Dunze get one and Cole Kmet. Yeah, that would
Yeah,
be
I
nice.
had Komet and Swift catching a touchdown. Yeah.
For sure, man. So 27-17 Bears over the Titans is what I see. And you got 21-13. I just feel like that's kind of a low score. The over-under is pretty low in that game, but I mean, that's way under it. So, um,
Two young quarterbacks, man. I don't love this game to be a pretty game. Like I don't think anybody looks great.
well, it'll look great if the Bears get the win
Yeah.
when it's all
I
said
just, you
and
know
done.
what I mean. I think it's
Yeah,
ugly. I think it's I could see interceptions on both sides. I could see, just trying to establish the run all the way through the first half. Even if it's not working, I could see both teams sticking to it. So some three and outs for sure, man. Some three and outs.
well, hell
I
yeah.
think I think the Bears offense will have some three and outs. I think the Titans offense will definitely have some three
Well,
and outs.
I think we saw that in the preseason, man, that the Bears can come out a little disorganized. The potential for that exists. Now we saw that in Hard Knocks that Caleb wasn't getting the play calls in his helmet. The radio was down, so I mean, obviously that impacted them. But the Bears aren't going to be running up and down the field scoring the entire game. That's for sure. And Caleb's first NFL game. He's going to have some growing pains, but I do think that the veterans on this offense and this defense can carry Caleb through this game. And I think the Bears are just a better team. We just went through it all. They're a better overall team. They have better talent. They have better talent at the skill positions. They have better talent in the defense. And I just think that that's what wins the day for this Bears team, man.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I confidently picked the Bears in this game, and I don't care about the stock that people put into records of quarterbacks playing their first starting week one, whatever all those
Yeah.
numbers.
I was talking about
And
those over unders that I bet. I also bet that with the Bears -6. I stretched out that spread a little bit. The Bears are 4.5 point favorites. I took it to 6, got me some extra juice. So I mean, I'm confident the Bears win this game by at least a touchdown. That's where I stand, and let's see if Will Levis proves me wrong.
I
Well,
doubt it.
I doubt it too. any any other closing thoughts on this game before we head out of here, bro?
No, man, I'm ready to watch the Packers Eagles tomorrow, man, and
Cock.
that's a game I'm not touching either
Huh?
with any kind of bet, man. I think I put one bet on the under in that game.
I haven't touched it. I now I'm what I'm really wondering is, do I start Jordan Love over Anthony Richardson, and do I start Jordan Love over Joe Burrow? Because I see that Patriots Bengals game getting out of hand quick. The Bengals are going to have that game sealed up pretty quickly, and Joe Burrow's going to stop throwing the ball. They might just take his ass out and wrap him in plastic in the second half, man. So it's like, uh, I'm wondering, what do you think? Do I start Jordan Love over Joe
Yeah,
Burrow?
you start Joe Burrow because even if the game got out of hand, that means Joe Burrow probably threw like two touchdowns. You know what I mean? It's like if it's out of hand, he probably scored a decent amount of points for them to feel comfortable with him being taken out of the
That
game.
Eagles secondary was atrocious last year. Now we know they did a lot to try to improve
I
that.
just, man, the reason I took the under at that game, it's 49 and a half. The reason I took the under at that game is because a
They've
game
been
in
trapped in their hotel for an entire
a game in
yeah.
Brazil.
Yeah,
I
nobody
just
can go outside. They're just stuck there. Yeah.
if it was a game in Brazil in like week 8 too, I maybe think differently about it. But week 1,
Yeah, I don't want to touch it. I think the Eagles win that game,
it
to be
doesn't
honest.
matter though. I parlayed that bet with Pacheco getting 3 catches, so that's a wrap. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like to parlay the player props from one game with the other with the
Really, I love those because you can just take the like
I like to do it within the game. I
like
like
the
to do
Herbert getting over 12 catching yards or whatever. It's like those are I love taking just the easiest bet from each game and putting them together, man. And I thought Pacheco, He had 4 catches last in the AFC Championship against this team, and the Ravens weren't great at defending, but he dropped that pass, man. He dropped that pass.
Yeah, that was a tough beat, man. I think we both had a couple tough beats tonight. Hopefully this Sunday we're celebrating a Bears win, a new era of Chicago Bears football.
With chicken.
Yeah, victory chicken. I I think we will be, but let's get ready for way more football this weekend. Man, shit, it's late. I've been up since 8 in the morning yesterday. 7:30. Yeah, it's been a long ass day. I
Yes.
uh I appreciate you. I appreciate you jumping on with me, man. This has been fun.
Yeah, for sure, man. And we will have another episode of the Bear Necessities next week, guys, before the Bears take on the Houston Texans on Sunday night in Houston.
Yeah, we definitely, I mean, selfishly, I want to talk about the game that we just saw tonight, and I want to talk about the Bears and this upcoming game, and we can revisit it and see how our takes actually hold up when it comes down to it. But also at the same time, we want to share this with you guys, and hopefully y'all enjoy it. And we want to have some content that's consistent that you guys can come to on a daily basis, week to week basis, and get your fix on Chicago sports in general. That's the name, 4 Star Chicago Sports. Shout out to Sean and Kyle, not here with us tonight, but you
Oh,
know,
let me say this, man. I haven't said this, and I feel guilty. I haven't said this since we've started this whole thing, guys. I want to credit 2 people, Tiana Hornicle, my girlfriend, and
oh,
Catherine Mankey for this logo that we made here, guys.
logo sick, logo
One of
sick.
the things that I'm most proud of since we've started kind of doing all this, and it took a lot of work from those 2 girls. So thank you to them for sure, because I like the way it's kind of came out exactly as I envisioned it. So
Yeah, well, yeah, we all talked about it. It wasn't just your vision, motherfucker. Like, we had discussed this for, for a little bit of time before it came into that. But yeah, they did a great job, man, and thank you to them for that. We appreciate everybody who's who supports and who wants to help out. You know, with the intro video from Bearski, you know, the love from Trax and CSP. You know, our significant others for putting up with us being in a room for fucking 2 hours while we talk about sports like a couple of kids. You know, and
and
everybody,
you guys out there
yeah,
who are
the
gonna watch
people
this
who
show.
watch it, you know, I love I'm gonna chop up shorts out of this, and you guys can look for those. We got a bunch of content coming at you guys, and if you guys got ideas and suggestions on how it can get better, we want to hear them. You know, we want to just give the best content possible to y'all every time we come out here, and hopefully we accomplish that goal at some point.
For sure, man. It's been fun.
Yeah, man. Thank you for staying up late with me, bro. I appreciate it. You have a great rest of your night. Get some rest, and yeah, you'll see this on Saturday. And go
Yeah,
Bears!
yeah. Bear down, guys.
Bear down. Love you, Brandon.
Love you too.